Now, I know Game Week 7 isn't even over yet, but there's still plenty to talk about. So here are players to buy and avoid for Game Week 8. Now, I don't think it's going to come as a massive surprise that my number one transfer target for Game Week 8 is, of course, Ollie Watkins. Now, I don't think it's just knee-jerky to the fact that he, of course, got a hat-trick and 2 assists against Brighton in Game Week 7. Even before that, he was still playing really well. He wasn't quite hitting the heights of goals that he had in previous seasons, but he was averaging pretty much an assist per game. Like, he was playing at a really, really high level, regardless of the fact that he wasn't scoring many goals. And I can only see that form continuing. Looking at the fixtures that Villa have got coming up, well, they're just absolutely fantastic. And I think of all of the Villa forwards, Diaby is obviously a good option, but he did hobble off the match against Brighton injured. So is he going to be fit for Game Week 8? Not too sure. Watkins, though, you could be pretty sure he's going to play every game for Villa. Certainly looked like he was fit at the end of the game in Game Week 7. And yeah, they've just got such a good fixture run. And for me, there aren't many forwards in FPL at the moment that are really scoring consistent good points. Obviously, Haaland and Alvarez being 2 that are. But outside of those 2, there ain't many. And maybe you'd be looking at Watkins to fill that role. Also, he seems to be capable of big hauls against pretty much any opposition. I know the fixture run coming up is really good. But even after this, when the fixture run gets a little bit tough, I wouldn't be scared to hold him in my team. Now, it feels a little bit difficult to recommend Jarrod Bowen ahead of playing Newcastle. However, I'd say West Ham match up really well against the strong teams. The way they play, sitting kind of deep on defence and hitting teams on the counter-attack, and of course Bowen getting on the end of quite a lot of those recently, it suits the style that plays well against the big teams, basically. So I wouldn't be put off the fact that he's playing Newcastle next. I think he could quite easily score against them. Genuinely looks like he's back in the form that he was of a couple of the seasons ago. I think in the 21-22 season, he knocked up around 10 goals and 10 assists. And based on how he started things this season, I don't see any reason why he can't at least match or beat the total of that season. West Ham, they got a decent set of upcoming fixtures, particularly when you get the Newcastle and Aston Villa games out of the way. One thing you can also say with Bowen is he's pretty much guaranteed to play every game in the Premier League. Even when they've got European football, Moyes likes to, certainly in the early stages as well as the European competitions, Moyes likes to rotate Bowen out for those games and play him in the important English Premier League games. So yeah, I think he's a fantastic option. You don't have to worry about him not starting. His injury record is actually pretty fantastic as well. I don't remember a period, certainly in recent times, where he spent an elongated amount of time being injured. And with 5 goals in 7 games so far, I think that form is only going to continue. It's going to be a little bit Villa heavy this video, but the next player I'm going to recommend is Martinez, the goalkeeper. Now, I'm not saying Villa are looking fantastic defensively, but they're looking okay. Kept a couple of clean sheets, and they've also had some really tough fixtures to start the season off. But the reason I'm recommending Martinez is because he's the best of both worlds, basically, in terms of goalkeepers. And in my opinion, at least in FPL, the best scoring goalkeepers are not necessarily ones that keep the most clean sheets or make the most saves. They're the ones that get both, really, and hit the best of both worlds. Now, with those upcoming 5 fixtures, Wolves, West Ham, Luton, Forest and Fulham, you could expect 2 or 3 clean sheets in there. But another string to Martinez's bow is that he's keeping over 3 saves per game. So in every game in that run, you could expect him to return either saves bonus, a clean sheet, or maybe both, maybe even scoring double digits if he does that. So for me, I think he's a really good option going forward. And a lot of people probably have goalkeepers at a similar price. Some might be happier with their goalkeeper than others. You know, the likes of Sam Johnston, his place could be lost to Dean Henderson sometime soon. And obviously with Onana and Man United, they're conceding goals. You might want to be getting rid of him. Martinez, I think, is a great option. Villa heavy, but I had to mention Matty Cash. He is top by a long margin for expected goal involvements across defenders in the Premier League this season. At the start of the season, I think a few of us were a little bit worried as to whether he would play every game for Villa, but he really looks to have solidified himself in that starting 11. And yeah, we've seen before, he's the #1 defender in the Premier League so far for attacking stats. And as we said with Martinez, you could easily foresee 2 or 3 clean sheets in the next 5 games that Villa play. And I only copied his attacking stats across, basically, because you could take the defensive stats from what we saw with Martinez there. Of course, only kept a couple of clean sheets, but 0.54 expected returns per 90, right? That's good for a forward and a midfielder. I think Saka in the Premier League last season had 0.54 expected returns per 90. Cash, in only a 7-game sample, as a defender, is putting up similar numbers to what Saka did last season for Arsenal. So I think, that sort of tells the story of Matty Cash, really. He's already, I think, 20% owned in the game now, and his ownership, in my opinion, will only rise given they got Wolves away next week, and I think a lot of people are going to be unhappy with some of their defenders. So, yeah, Matty Cash, definitely a player to be targeting. Now, I must say, I don't have a whole lot of players that I'm desperately looking or recommending that people avoid, but Arsenal, they're about to start a really tough fixture run. They've got Man City, Newcastle and Chelsea in the next 4 game weeks, and you've got to think Arsenal will probably concede in all of those games. So if I was sitting on an Arsenal defender right now, I would definitely consider hopping on to someone maybe from Newcastle. Botman obviously being injured, however, there are plenty of other options from the Newcastle team, or the Villa defence as well. We've just gone through Cash there, so someone like Saliba to Matty Cash, or Saliba to someone like Cher, or if you've got the Cash, Trippier would be a fantastic move if you could make it. So I'm not suggesting they're terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but I think, we've got a 4 or 5 game fixture run for Arsenal that's pretty poor, and whereas Newcastle and Villa have much better. So potentially your transfer this week, if you're looking to use it, could be used if you still have an Arsenal defender. Alright, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and found it useful, please let me know in the comments, and also leave a like rating on the video if you enjoyed it. Also, let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts there. I'll be interested to know if there are any other players you've got your eye on. I definitely suggest Moussa Diaby from Aston Villa as a player to look at. He did go off injured against Brighton, which is the only reason I'm not mentioning it. I imagine he'll probably be fit for next weekend. And then, of course, he's a great option alongside Watkins, Cash and Martinez as well. It's a shame you can only get 3 Villa players in, basically. But yeah, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like rating and subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just there. And I'll catch you in the next one.